This case begins with one of the most recognizable figures in American law enforcement history, James Comey, a man who once led the Federal Bureau of Investigation, a man who spent years investigating powerful criminals and national security threats. But in 2026, he is no longer the investigator. He is the accused. Federal prosecutors allege that Comey committed a serious crime involving a social media post that would eventually spark a national political and legal firestorm. At the center of it all is the sitting President Donald Trump. In May 2025, James Comey reportedly shared a photo on Instagram. The image looked harmless at first glance. It showed seashells arranged on a beach, but arranged in a very specific way. They formed two numbers, 8647 at first. Many people didn't think much of it. Some saw it as random beach art. Others thought it might be a political joke. But within hours, the meaning of those numbers became a national debate. This is where the case becomes complicated. The entire prosecution depends on interpretation. According to federal investigators, 86 is slang that can mean to remove, to get rid of, or in the most extreme interpretation, to kill. And 47 is believed to refer to Donald Trump as the 47th President of the United States. So when combined, prosecutors argue the message becomes, or worse, a coded call for harm against the president. The U.S. Department of Justice believes this was not accidental symbolism. They argue it was a disguised threat. James Comey's defense tells a very different story. They argue that he did not arrange the seashells at all. According to his legal team, Comey was simply walking on the beach when he noticed the arrangement and took a photograph. They say there was no intention, no hidden meaning, and no criminal message. Once the post started receiving attention and people began interpreting it as violent, Comey deleted it within 24 hours. His defense claims this shows something important. He did not intend harm. He reacted to misunderstanding. They also emphasize that Comey has repeatedly stated he opposes violence in any form. In April 2026, the situation escalated dramatically. A federal grand jury in North Carolina issued an indictment against Comey. He was charged with 2 federal offenses: threatening the life of the president, transmitting a threat in interstate communication. Each charge carries a potential penalty of up to 10 years in federal prison. Comey later surrendered to authorities in Virginia. He was released without conditions, but the legal battle had officially begun. This is not a simple case of a direct threat. There is no written statement saying, "I will harm the president." There is no weapon. There is no physical plan. Instead, the entire case rests on interpretation. That is what makes it so controversial. Because in American law, not all speech is illegal, even offensive speech. For the government to win, they must prove something very specific: that the message was a true threat. Under U.S. constitutional law, especially First Amendment protections, speech is only criminal if it meets the definition of a true threat. That means prosecutors must prove the defendant intended the message as a threat, or at minimum, acted with reckless disregard for how it would be perceived. This is a very high legal standard, and it becomes even harder in cases involving symbols, slang, or ambiguous language. That is why legal experts say this case is extremely difficult for the government to prove. The prosecution argues that context matters. They say, Comey is a former FBI director. He understands symbolism and coded messaging. The timing and political climate make the message more serious. And they claim additional evidence exists beyond the Instagram post. However, this alleged additional evidence has not yet been made public. That leaves a major question hanging over the entire case. Comey's legal team is expected to fight aggressively on multiple fronts. First Amendment defense. They argue the post is protected speech. Intent challenge. They claim there is no evidence he intended any threat. Ambiguity argument. They say 8647 is too unclear and too widely interpreted to be criminal. Selective prosecution claim. They are also preparing to argue the case is politically motivated and represents retaliation against a political critic. The case is now moving through federal court proceedings. Key upcoming moments include motion hearing scheduled in June 2026, arraignment in North Carolina federal court, a tentative trial date set for July 2026, but even that trial date may change. The defense is already requesting delays, arguing they need more time to challenge the charges. Outside the courtroom, the case has divided public opinion. Some believe the government is right to treat any potential coded threat seriously. Others believe the prosecution goes too far, turning ambiguous symbolism into a federal crime. And at the center of that debate is a bigger question: where is the line between free speech and criminal threat? As of now, the case has not reached a final verdict. James Comey remains free while awaiting trial. No jury has yet decided whether 8647 was a harmless misunderstanding, or a criminal threat. What is clear is this. This case will not only decide the fate of one former FBI director, it may also shape how America interprets digital speech, political symbolism, and online expression in the future. This case is still unfolding, and the truth is still being tested in court. Now I want to hear your opinion. Do you think this was a coded threat, or just a misunderstanding taken too far? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this documentary, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next true crime story.